In this special tutorial produced as a user request, we will easily make a complex boat hull using surface modeling tools. You will learn how to start off this design by using canvas images, when and how to use 3D Sketch in your sketch palette, how to use the intersection curve tool to simply create incredibly complex geometry, use the patch and stitch tools to create a solid model body, and then finish off your design by using the shell tool. Stay tuned to the end to see how to use one more surface modeling tool. Welcome to the Learn It channel. Let's make a boat hull using surface modeling tools. So to start off this tutorial, one thing I'm going to emphasize throughout it is to keep everything properly organized, because you quickly can get frustrated in Fusion if you're not used to organizing and managing your data well. So first of all, we're going to go to our data panel, and right now I'm in lesson 34. We've got all sorts of different lessons on our YouTube channel you can check out, but I'm in lesson 34 right now, boat hull. I've already done some practice parts, but bring up your folder that you want your files to be in. Once we save this, for example, if I go save, and I type in boat hull, I'm going to call it number 3 because this is my third one. There we go. If I save it, it's going to save it into what you see on the left. I know that file management is something that's difficult for many, but it's really simple once you get used to it. So let's start off with that. We've saved our part file right here. Now we're going to go File and Upload, and we're going to drag and drop our image files. So for me, I just left them on my desktop, and I'm going to drag and drop them right there. Now you can get these files if you'd like to practice this boat hull on your own. You can pick them up on our Patreon page. It's free to join. We've got free membership. We've got paid membership as well. There's all sorts of different options that you can choose from. But thank you ahead of time for your support. So here we've got a front, a side, and a top view. So now that we have this in our folder, I'm just going to close the data panel. And we're going to go right away to Insert a Canvas. And in fact, since we're already there in our Lesson 34 folder, I'm just going to go right to our side and insert, and I'm going to pick the XZ plane. So it inserts the file right there, and I can make this boat hull, the image, quite a bit bigger, and I'm going to flip it. I'm going to mirror it right there, and you can see we've got this basic shape of our boat hull. Now you can import any image. You can just search for it on Google, find an image, get the top view, get the side view. We're actually going to only work with 2 views for this tutorial, but we've made our image a little bit bigger. We're going to go OK. And now if you go to your browser and go to the image that we've just inserted, the canvas image, we're going to right click and go calibrate. So here, let's just assume that I know the distance from front to back. And let's say that this is a 60-foot boat. So there we go. We can just type in 60 feet. We could also go right now I've got under the document settings, it's set to inches, but we could actually go meters. All right. So that's 60 meters right there. But if that's a little bit too big, we can always go, let's go back to calibrate, and I can pick those 2 known points, and let's just call this 60 feet. We can do whatever we want. Okay. So we've got our first image. And what we could also do is let's go edit. Let's turn on the origin as well. So now the origin has come up on our screen, and we can place this boat wherever we'd like with the origin. Now for me, you're going to find this amazing, but we could actually have this boat placed. Let's say we can align it up with the bottom of the boat or the top of the boat, or we could line it up with this point to our x-axis. But you know what? Why don't we just place it on the bottom here? Why don't we do that? And you can also see this this movement handle over here. You can line it up with the y-axis, and there we go. It's pretty well centered. Let's go OK. Now we're going to insert another canvas image, and we'll put the top image here. So for this, we can pick our XY plane, and because our first image is so big right now, this we have to make giant in order to make it equal, make it line up. But we're just going to do this, and now this takes a little bit of observation skills. You have to line up the first image with the second image, and this might be a little bit challenging to do for some, but have fun with it. Now, as you can see, just to explain, it's a little bit hard to line these images up. So let's make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. This endpoint right there needs to line up with that. This endpoint needs to line up with that right there. So in reality, what we could do is go, okay, let's go back to our first image. We can edit it, and I'm just going to drop this down. Why don't we drop it down? That makes more sense. We're going to drop it down so that this point is lined up with our x-axis right there. And there we go. And now this is a little bit easier to see. You can see the front of the boat still needs to, grow a little bit there, and the back as well. So we're going to go back to edit, and we can make this top image a little bit bigger. Grab this part of our scaling handle right there. I'm going to grab that and just make it a little bit bigger. And now you can see, yeah, it's pretty well there. Now I can just finesse it a little bit smaller. 4, 3, there we go. Okay, so you don't have to worry too much about this, but yeah, let's line that up right there. Okay, very, very, very good. Excellent. Now, what we can do is just put this back to 0 for Y, and that will line it up in Y as well. Now we've got our 2 images, and this is all we're going to work with for the rest of our tutorial. Now, what we're going to do is we don't even have to hide the top. If we go to our front view over here, you can see we can't even see our top image, so we don't need to hide it. But what I'm going to do is let's take a sketch. We're going to create a sketch on our XZ plane, and I'm going to sketch out the profile that I see. And this can be a little bit tedious for some. It's very easy once you get used to it, but just spend the time. Keep on learning, keep trying to apply yourself to learning surface modeling, and you'll love it. So let's grab ourselves a line, and I'm going to start from the front over here. So we're going to keep this as simple as possible. We can refine it later, but I'm going to grab that. We're going to bring it down right here. Now, it's snapping to the grid. We can turn that setting off in our preferences, but if we don't want it snapping to our grid, just hold down Command or Control. So Command on a Mac, Control on Windows, and it will no longer snap to those grid points. So I'm just going to create a line right there. You can go Accept, and you can see that this isn't perfect. We can always grab that point later. Oh, I've created another couple arcs right there. That's no good. So you can just grab that. I emphasize this in most of my other lessons. Always press Escape. Escape, Escape, Escape before you go on to the next step. Now, what we can do is let's do the same thing over here. I'm going to grab this point, that right there, and you can see that's a little bit off, so perfect. We can bring this down to, okay, so let's keep on working with this. We're going to try an arc, and if this isn't an arc right here, which I know it's not, but let's just say we're trying to use arc and it's not lining up with that profile. Well, that's because it's a spline, not an arc. So grab yourself a spline, and don't worry too much about splines. Don't be scared by them. I'm just going to pick the first point and the last point and go check. Now, I'm still in spline mode, so don't pick this handle. Press Escape, and look what happens when I press Escape. It goes back to my regular mouse cursor. Now I can grab this control rod right here, and you can push it and pull it. You can do whatever you want, and I'm going to try and line up. Oh, it was pretty easy. Look at that. I'm just going to line up that spline so it follows that profile of the boat, and go, let's not go finish sketch yet. Let's try the top as well. Is it an arc? Is it an arc? And again, if you don't want it to snap to your grid, press Command on a Mac or Control on Windows. And look at that, actually it does. It does line up. Perfect. So when we close everything, you can see, let's hide our canvas images there, that this is a closed profile. So this is what we want. This is great. Let's go back to our side. And we're going to do our other profiles as well. So let me grab this. And this looks like a straight line. I'm going to go all the way down here, and let's pretend that this fillet doesn't exist. We're just going to keep it as simple as possible. And I'm going to move that on up over there. Now what we have is another closed profile right there. And let's do our last one too. And so this is an arc, it looks like. So we can go to our arc, and we can pick one, our endpoint, and then we can adjust the arc value. There we go. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3 closed profiles. How do we know where they're closed? Well, on my screen, they're turning blue. So if they're not turning blue, it's because you are not connecting fully. The edges are not connecting all together. So that might have a little gap in them or something like this. For example, let me just show you here. if I create a square, but I don't quite connect it. Let's say sometimes this happens. It looks like it's connected. Look at that. Well, it's not closing off. Okay, so make sure that you are having closed profiles to work with. They turn blue on my screen. If you're in a different environment, they turn a different color. Let's go Tranquility Blue. These are turning white. So yeah, anyways, in my environment, I'm just in photo booth. You can go to that so that you see blue when I see blue and everyone's happy. Okay, let's go to our top now. And this is what throws a lot of people off. This is so easy when you get used to it, but again, it's quite challenging if you've never tried it before. What we're going to do is we've got a bunch of endpoints. Here's an endpoint. There's an endpoint. There's an endpoint of all of our edges. And we want to use those edges and reference it to our top canvas image as well. So let's go here. First of all, I'm going to create a sketch on that plane. It reorients it for me. And you can see that the image is a little bit off. So why don't I adjust that? I'm going to go here to edit, and I'm just going to move that up so it's in line. There we go. Let's go back to our sketch. And I think, yeah, it's that one right there. Perfect. Now what we need to do is we need to make sure that all of our curves, all of our lines, all of our edges match up together. So this point right here, I don't believe we can pick at all. No, we can't. And this is because that edge, that point, that end point, it doesn't exist on our current sketch. In fact, I can hide everything else. And it's like that doesn't exist. So what I need to do is take this point and we need to project it. Basically, it's like we're looking at our top plane right here, and we need to take this point and say, I want to use this point. I want this to be projected on my current plane that I'm working with. Oh, by the way, if 3D Sketch is on, turn it off now. We use that at certain times, very, very seldom in Fusion 360. So turn it off. Don't assume that 3D Sketch is the better choice. You know, 3D is 2D plus 1. No, we have to learn when to use that, and it's turned off by default. So again, if you've turned it on because you think it's better, turn it off. Okay, so how do we project this endpoint onto our sketch? We press P for project, and we've got a filter. We can pick an entity, which picks an individual line, or we can pick an entire body, and that will project the entire body onto our sketch plane. But leave it on specific entities. And what we can do, you can see as I hover over a certain line, it's like it takes that line and projects it on my current sketch plane. I can also do this line as well. See what that looks like. We can pick any of these lines. That's a line completely vertical, so it's showing this little point. Anyways, this is, you can see here, because this line is tapered, it's projecting from this point to that point, just like a light is shining from your bottom direction, and it's shining and creating a shadow on our sketch plane. So anyways, let's go over here to our point, and we're going to pick that. Excellent. And we'd like this to connect to this point. So pick those 2 points, go OK. And that's almost all we need to do. Let's go back to our top view, and we can rotate it, why not? And turn on our top hole. So basically, we're just going to draw or sketch this profile now. We know that our boat is completely symmetric, so we don't have to worry about drawing the top portion. We're just going to pretend like this boat is cut in half. So let's do the easy ones first of all. I'm going to grab this line, and I'm going to connect it to that. Let's do our other easy line right here. So the back, we're going to connect it right to there. Excellent. Now this looks like a spline, so we're going to go back to create, spline, fit point, spline. Just pick those 2 points again. Very good. If we don't project those points, you'll see that we can't snap to anything over here. So we need to make sure that we can snap to that point, hence why we project. So now I'm going to move this handle, and you can see that we can line this up as best as we can. There we go. We might need to adjust this handle as well. And I think that looks about good. So let's go finish sketch. So we just wanted to send a big shout out and thanks to our sponsor for this tutorial, PCBWay. Check out their website. You can do CNC 3D printing if you don't have a 3D printer. Super easy to work with. Drag and drop your files, pick your material, order, and there you go. Hope you check them out. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this tutorial, we need to manage everything properly. So let's get into the habit of that with our sketches. And we can go to sketch 1. This would be our side profile, our main side. So I'm going to call it side main. And our next one is going to be, I'm going to call this level 1. So this is level 1, and each level going down is going to be another level. So let's call this our top level 1. Okay, there might be more professional names for these particular sketches that we can call them, but let's just, for the sake of this tutorial, call it top level 1. There we go. Now, this is where the fun happens right here. We've got a profile here, here, and here that we want all to be matching up in 3D space. I'm going to turn off my origin for now as well. Let's just do that. Now, this is the fun part. We're going to create another sketch, and we are going to, we can actually create it on anything, because we're going to do something called, we go there, we're going to go to project and intersection curve. And so you can pick any plane, in fact, to be your main sketch plane. But we're going to pick this curve, and we want it to line up with this. And look what happens as I click this edge. Okay, this is so cool. It creates this 3D curve, and basically it's taking the projection of both of those curves and saying, okay, make them match each other, make them meet up in 3D space. So that's what we want right there. Let's go okay, and we're going to create another one. To use the previous tool that we've just used, right click, and look at that. At the very top, 12 o'clock, repeat intersection curve. And now we want to pick this line and that, and look what happens. It throws them right together. Everything matches up. All these are going to be perfect. Now, this is no longer a closed profile. We can hide level 1 right there. This isn't closed, but that's okay. We know, because we've projected it properly, because we've used the intersection curve, we know that these, in fact, in 3D space, if we were to create a surface body, which we'll get to, these will, in fact, create a closed surface body. So that is our first curve, and I'm going to rename this. We're going to call it top projected level 1. Actually, let's just change that, level 1 projected. Okay, and you know what? Why don't we just put a J there so we know it's talking about projection. Okay, so now we need to do this down the line. So do we need to create another plane, a sketch plane in line with this point? Remember, our first sketch plane was in line with this? Well, here's the answer. No, we don't. We can use any sketch plane at any point on in XY. So we're just going to pick our standard XY sketch point, and this is going to be amazing. So let's create that XY sketch plane right there. Now, from our top view, again, we need to project this point in. So let's go P for project. I'm going to grab that point, and let's see what we've got over here. This curve will need to match up with this point. So I'm going to project that point as well. Very good. Now, why don't we hide this curve? We don't need that anymore. We can just hide that. Now, do you know what? Let's turn it back on, because we're going to, let's see. No, we've already got the profile on our sketch. So a lot of times you won't be able to see this profile on our sketch. This is the top view of our boat. We're looking inside of a boat, a 3D image that I have already created through one of my practice files. But in reality, you'll just see the top portion of the boat. You won't be able to see these under profiles. Unless you have a bottom view of the boat, you won't be able to see those. So anyways, I am going to hide it regardless. Yeah, let's keep it going. Okay, so what we're going to do is put those together. So we're going to turn on our top view again. We are going to create a spline. Let's do that. And we need to grab this point. It's kind of hard to see, so we can hide our whole top right there, and I can turn it back on, and let's go to around, it looks like it's kind of the midpoint right here. There we go. Let's do that. And then we're going to grab another spline over here. Boom and boom. Let's go check. And we just have to adjust our control rods. Remember, you push and pull them to adjust how much they deviate, or how much the arc is there. Okay, and we're going to move that. I'm just holding down Command right now on the Mac so that it doesn't snap to the grid points. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, it's not perfect. It's not lining up perfectly with our boat. We could fuss and fiddle with that, but it's good. It's very good enough right now, especially if we're just making a 3D model or something like that. Okay, so we've got these two lines. We can hide our top image, and we want to create an intersection curve between those two. So let's just rename this. I'm going to call this our top level 2. Okay. And we're going to create another sketch. And remember, we picked the XZ plane before. Why don't I pick the XY and just show you we can pick any plane that we want when we're using project intersection curve. So let's grab this one now. And we're going to grab this and look at that. Boom, we've got this red projected line. Let's go OK. We're going to do the same thing over here. Right click, go back to our previous tool. And now we're going to pick this last point of our line and the same curve right there, and it should connect to everything. Perfect. So we're going to rename this right away. We're going to call it Top Level 2 Project. Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so now all we need to do is do the last one. So if we look at our top profile, it actually comes down to a point over here, and it's a very slim profile at the bottom. So let's go there, and it's going to line up with this point. So let's create a sketch on our XY. We're going to go P for project. We're going to pick this point right there, and we're going to pick this point right there. That's where it's going to line up to. Let's go OK. Great. Go back up to our top view, and we're going to connect these all together. So let's pick that projected point. Is it snapping to this? Did we? Oh, sorry. No, we don't want it snapping to that. This is just a simple curve from there to there. Okay. Yeah. So let's do that. And in fact, we can pick arc because I think we can just get away with an arc. And this is going to follow that profile. Very good. All right. Okay. So now this has to line up with this right here. So let's rename this. This is going to be top level 3. Let's create another sketch. That's fine. And create a intersection curve. Let's hide our image. We're going to pick this one and that one right there. Beautiful. Look at that. Okay, so now we can rename this our top level 3 project. Very good. All right, so this is looking amazing. So we've got all of these projected lines right now. We can in fact hide the top level 1, 2, and 3, and we've got these projected lines right here. Now we need to do a little bit of housekeeping. We need to connect these as well. And in fact, we can hide the side main, and this is where we're going to use create sketch. We can create this on any plane yet again, because this is where we're going to turn on 3D sketch, and we need to connect these together. So let's go from that point to that point, check. Right click, repeat line, that point to that point, check. And we're just going to move down the line here. So let's get this point to there, check. That point to there, check. Now, in theory, if we turn on our side main, you can see that these lines will line up. And in fact, we can use those. Why don't we use those? We have to think about if we're going to create a patch, which we're going to do in a moment, let's not use more than 4 edges. 3 edges is great. 4 edges is I think is a good, well, we can do a number of edges, but 4 edges keeps everything buttoned together. It's very easy to work with. So we've got that. And if we turn on the side main, you can see that those close profiles we can work with as well. So now that we have those, well, we can leave side main on. This is where we're going to go over to the surface tab. And remember, just like in English, I mentioned this in so many of our tutorials, Fusion is like reading English. We start from left to right, top to bottom. So in the toolbar over here, you can see we've created sketches. Now we're going to move on to patch. Keep in mind, patch is a very special tool, but you need to use patch like you're using a sewing machine. So here's an example. If I have these 4 edges that I want to patch together, I can't pick 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if it works. No, it doesn't work. I have to picture like I'm using a sewing machine. I'm going to go right click, repeat patch. We have to go either clockwise or counterclockwise. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it will close off. Let's go OK. And I'm going to go down the line with this. So our sketch has been hidden. So we're going to go back and turn on those lines right there. And we're going to go back to patch. And now this is where enable chaining will get us in trouble, because as soon as I pick this edge, look at what it's selecting. All of the edges along that face. So let's turn it off. Now I can pick edge, 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 and edge. And look at this. Now it has created this beautiful, beautiful surface right there. Let's go OK. Now you can see that our sketches have been hidden. So we're going to go back to side main over there, and maybe we actually didn't even need to do that, but that's okay. Let's go to patch, and enable chaining is off. So let's go there, 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 to there. All right, so we're getting there. We're getting there. And then we've got one more down here. Let's go right click, repeat patch 1 and 2. Very good. Now this profile down here, we're going to just be using a solid body profile for that, which is great. Okay, so now our boat hull is looking amazing right now. This is looking great. Let's turn off our sketches, and we've got this. Yeah, it's looking beautiful. So at this point, what we can do is, if we were to stitch them together, if we go over to bodies, we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. These surface bodies right here, they're non-existent. They're surface bodies. They have no volume, they have no mass, they have nothing. They're just like a fictitious element on our screen that we can work with. And we need to turn this into a solid body to work more with it. So we can 3D print it, or we can, go further with design and stuff like this for a real boat. But anyways, if we were to go to stitch, we can stitch these all together. I'm going to pick all these faces to make it easier on yourself. You can just pick them off to the side here. And you can see that the green lines that showed up, sorry, once I orbited, there we go. The green lines that are showing up are saying that we can stitch those edges together, but the red lines we can't. And you can see here we've got 14 free edges, and we've got 8 edges to be stitched. So if we go OK, it will stitch these bodies together. Now we've only got one body right here. Now we might think, in order to give this some volume, we're going to go create and let's go thicken. But this doesn't help us very much. Let's go thicken. I'm going to thicken all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's thicken this. We'll bring it out, I don't know, 5 inches if we can. Let's see the limitation of using thickness. I'm just going to drop it down to 5. And you can see that our body right here is angled, and that's because it is thickening each of those faces along the normal. The normal is basically, if we're taking a camera and looking at any point here of our surface body, that's called the normal. So it's taking this face, and at every point along the normal, it's extending or thickening it. And so this doesn't help us because it's creating edges like this, which are angled. And as we go along to the back, then it's more so flat over here. So we don't like that. I'm going to go back in time. Let's go and delete that stitch right there. And why don't we've got a couple options. We could mirror all of this and then try and create some more surface bodies, or we can just try and turn this into a solid model right now and then adjust it later, mirror it later. So why don't we do that? Let's go back to our side main right over here. We're going to go back to patch, and let's patch these up too. So I'm going to pick that edge, and this. There we go. And in fact, do we even need to do this? Let's see if we can get away with it. We're going to pick all of these edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Will it do it? Yes, it does. Excellent. Okay, so sometimes, like in that instance, it brings up an error, but it didn't in our case. We've got 5 curves, 5 edges that we're working with, which is great. Let's go OK. And then what we can do is patch the top here as well. Let's go 1, 2, and 3. It will patch the top. Now, this still, it looks like a solid body, but it's not. We have to go to stitch And I'm just going to pretend like I'm drawing a rectangular window around it. I could pick all of them at the same time, or I can just pretend like I'm drawing a window around. Oh, there we go. All of these edges turn green. We're good to go. Once we stitch everything together, you can see that we have a solid body right now. And in fact, if I go to Inspect, Section Analysis, we can cut this in half, and we've got the solid body right there. To show you that that didn't exist before, I can just drag our timeline back one, and look at this. They're all surface bodies right there. Solid body doesn't exist, so we have to make sure to stitch everything together. And to hide our analysis, I'm just going to expand, and we can hide section 1 right there. Now we've got this beautiful looking boat hull. Let's go to solid. We're going to go to mirror. We could also go create, drop down, mirror right here. If you're ever having a hard time finding something, just press S. S for search on your keyboard. I'm going to type in mirror, and we can go like that as well. So let's pick our body. Mirror plane, we can just pick that face, and we're going to go join. It's going to join everything together. Now, this right here, let's take a look. I believe that we can grab one of these faces because we could actually connect them together to be one face. Let's just see. I'm gonna select one and press delete and see what happens. There we go. So sometimes when the faces match up perfectly, like in our case they did, we can select one of them, what you just saw, and it will delete it and create this perfect single surface connecting everything together. Now, can we do it down here? Let's just look at our profile. Our profile doesn't match up perfectly. That this is not a fillet. It's not a a continuous arc right there. So if I try and select that face and go delete, it doesn't do anything. It says, no, you can't do that. And remember, we're back in solid environment right now, the solid tab. So if I actually went back in time, if we were still in surface and I pick this and then go delete, look what happens. It turns it back into a surface body. So make sure you're in the right environment. I'm going to go undo. There we go. I'm just going to go back with the timeline because we're in solid here, and we make sure that we've got a solid body. Okay, perfect. So at this point, how can we take care of those edges, the sides of our boat? Well, we're going to go to shell, and we just want to pick this top face, and we're going to shell this, and look at the difference between this versus thicken. There we go. We're going to call this 5 inches. And there we have it. We've got this beautiful boat. I just saw the spinning wheel of Mac death right there. So I'm going to go save, making sure that my computer doesn't crash. Excellent. Now, this is looking really good. Now we've still got a solid body. We have shelled this out. And you can see that at this point, we don't have this angled geometry over here. We've got this nice geometry. It's flat all the way across. So in order to create that final feature at the bottom, we're going to turn back on side main. Because this is a closed profile, we can work with it. We're going to go extrude. We can grab that, and we're going to go symmetric because we want it to go equally on both sides. We can just grab that right there, and we don't want it to cut anything. We want it to go join. And do we want 5 inches? Yeah, 5 inches sounds good. All right, so we've got this beautiful looking boat right there. We can refine it as well. We can put some fillets on it and everything. Let's grab, maybe these two right here and put on a nice fillet. We could also go something like, can we do these guys too? No, we can't do those. No, unfortunately we cannot. Okay. And in fact, before we put that on, maybe I should have gone back in time, and let's try and delete this. Yeah, there we go. So this might make it work for us a little bit better. Let's go back to our fillet. And what is this over here? Have we joined this together? Yeah, we've only got one body. Okay, so let's go back to our fillet. 1, 2, 3. Remember, we can look through our part. 4, there we go. No, it's not letting us. Okay, so we can only go, let's go 1 and 2 and put on some nice fillets there. Oh, it's not letting me do anything now, of course. There we go. Let's pick those guys. Nope. All right. So, and I'm just wondering what's going on here. It's got kind of a funny thing. Let's just delete that. Let's go back in time and redo this one more time. I think there was an issue with that body. Sometimes you have to do that with Fusion. With any 3D modeling program out there. Let's go 5, back to join. Now, does it still have that little mark right there? I don't believe so. And let's do this. 1 and 2. No, those still don't work. So what were those bodies that I picked before? I think they were these two, weren't they? Ah, there we go. Okay, maybe I was just trying to do too big of a fillet. I'm going to pick that edge. No, it doesn't let me. So we're just going to stick with those. That's fine. Let's just do that. Now, before we finish up this tutorial, if you've liked anything, if you've benefited from this at all, please consider liking. Please consider subscribing. Please consider becoming a member. We have YouTube membership. We have Patreon membership. There's also a feature to buy us a coffee if you would. That would just be, we would truly be thankful for any support you have out there. But at the least, please consider liking this video. It really helps our channel. Now, before we finish, let's talk about one other feature. With the whole images right here, there was, and let's just hide that. We can hide our sketches and our body. There was this little lip on the top. Now, how do we do this? Well, we can do it very easily with surface modeling as well. So let's go back to our body over here. We're going to go back to our surface tab and go create and go offset. Okay, so now that we selected offset, let's pick this face and we're not going to offset it at all. Let's just go okay. We can hide our body and now we've got this surface body that's floating in space. Let's go to modify and go extend. So look at what it says here. Enlarges as a surface by extending its edges a specific distance. So let's pick that. We've got to pick all the edges around. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. And we can extend this. Let's just extend it, I don't know, 4 inches. Let's go like that. And now what we want to do is use this thicken tool right there. So if I pick this whole surface and we bring it up, let's bring this up 4 inches as well. Now we've got this beautiful body that, and when we turn on our regular body here, our original body, you can see now we've got this beautiful shoulder, this lip that goes all the way across the hull of our boat. We hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. Again, if you have, please please consider subscribing, and we hope to see you at our next tutorial. All the best, and hope you keep learning with the Learn It channel.